Good morning, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown in sunny, cool Shenzhen, China. And it's a noisy outside. It always is noisy here, it seems like. In fact, I even closed the sliding door to record this because construction is just going on non-stop. They do stop at night, thank goodness. But from about 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, jackhammers, heavy machinery, you name it, it's out there. And we've got a big school being built catty corner to where we live, and they have been hammering and jackhammering since the summer. All right, exciting podcast today, I'm telling you. The title of it is War Between Anti-West and Eurangloland Heating Up Fast. Let's get started. Xi Jinping's historic speech and the giant FU to imperial capitalism during the Communist Party of China's 19th Congress last week seems to have emboldened the anti-West to new heights. Mind you, it's been building up for some time. 21st century leaders like Venezuela's revolutionary president Hugo Chavez and his successor Nicolas Maduro, Bolivia's president Evo Morales, Iran's supreme leaders and presidents, Russian President Vladimir Putin, among others, have been admirably playing the role of the anti-West standard bearer in the footsteps of Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Fidel Castro, and Mao Zedong. The newest member of the anti-West team is a real stick in Uncle Sam's eye, President Rodrigo Duterte, because before him, the Philippines were always one of the most subservient American colonial poodles on the planet. Not anymore. Roddy, as his citizens love to call him, loves to cuss at imperial power with a relish. And of course, as usual, there are umpteen links, so get to the source article and listen and read at the same time, and you'll have plenty to read and research until the next podcast on Thursday. There are a number of others. These include Cuba, Eritrea, Latin America's ALBA group, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, Serbia, and Hungary. Others like Thailand and Cambodia are also quietly piling on. Now Baba Beijing is getting more outspoken and forthright about defending its sovereignty. Just this week, the People's Liberation Air Force, the PLAF, flew practice bombing runs near America's Pacific colony, Guam. All this forthrightness and these vocal demands in the public sphere would have been unimaginable even a year ago. That's how fast the geopolitical tectonic plates are shifting out from under Eurangloland's jackbooted feet. Let's dig deeper into this anti-West war against Eurangloland by checking out a few of this week's headlines. I'm going to take a sip of my pu'er tea. I got a little frog in my throat here. Purchased in Yunnan at the tea plantation. As Tony Cartolucci and I discussed, the reserve status of the U.S. dollar around the world is America's Achilles heel with a bullseye painted all over it. What used to be the occasional comment and limited policy initiative to replace the dollar with other currencies is now turning into a torrent. Hydrocarbon giant in socialist Venezuela has already started to price its oil and gas in Chinese yuan and is seriously working to sell them with a basket of currencies, crippling the dollar's financial and sanctions tyranny in the process. Socialist Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, flat told Vladimir Putin this week that they should both dump the greenback. Pulling a Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, pulling a card out from his tunic sleeve, Iran's sage leader also proposed a rail line from St. Petersburg, Russia, on the Baltic Sea to Chabahar port on the Persian Gulf. Pure genius. I think it's safe to say Western companies will not get much of this visionary international infrastructure project's business. Anyway, Uncle Sam has his priorities straight. like keeping 1,000 centurions in strategically critical Niger, Northern Africa, where they are getting killed. The big anti-West wheel just keeps on rolling, brothers and sisters. Yesterday, Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev repeated Khamenei's "dump the dollar" chant when he met with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Putin and Xi also shouted this anti-West mantra at the recent BRICS summit in Xiamen, China. There are these loud and proud verbal attacks, and then there is action. China is apparently serious about launching its gold-backed Petro-yuan, which would compete mano a mano with the petrodollar. But Beijing is walking a fine line in doing so. If it pushes too hard and too fast, it could conceivably wreak havoc on the world financial system. I'm not worried, as this is simply not the Chinese style. Russia and China are continuing to interlock their two economies across the great expanse of Eurasia. After initial small-scale success, the bear and dragon are expanding their currency swaps up to the equivalent of $20 billion. This has the fortuitous advantage of completely circumventing Eurangloland's illegal and ineffective but vexing financial and trade sanctions. The idiocy of the West's illegal unilateral sanctions can be seen in another recent development. Russia's banks are issuing their first bank and credit cards. The Mir card, MIR, will partner with China's Alipay and UnionPay. The latter, which in 2014 became the world's biggest bank card, yes, surpassing Visa and MasterCard. The Power of Siberia pipeline, which will help ship $400 billion in Russian natural gas to China, is ahead of schedule. Its sales, too, can be conducted in yuan-ruble currency swaps, thus circumventing Eurangloland's desperate and failing economic and financial sanctions on Russia. Sanctions are like poking a stick in the bear's face. It just pisses it off, makes it meaner and more resourceful. The future is looking bright for Sino-Russian cooperation. Prime Minister Medvedev, who met Xi Jinping 5 times in as many years, also announced yesterday during their chat that trade between the two Asian giants is already up 35% in 2017. Wow, what a novel idea for the capitalist West. Do peaceful, mutually beneficial trade and exchanges together without invasion, occupation, destruction, extraction, and exploitation. Who would have thought? So, what is American empire doing to better the world, increase cooperation, and international commerce? What else? It's collecting Russian DNA to create a chemical or biological weapon that only affects people of Slavic origin. This is no joke. I shouldn't even be laughing. It's so morbid. Americans can now add to their designer drug fad another sure killer, designer biowar genocide. The United States has a long and terrifying history of using chemical and biological weapons, including on many of its own citizens. No other country in history has used and continues to use chemical and bioweapons as much as America. Remember the supposed Ebola outbreak? The U.S. military owns the patent on the virus for a reason. It's all spelled out in thoroughly researched, horrifying detail in book number 2 of the China trilogy, entitled China Rising, Capitalist Roads, Socialist Destinations. Not to mention the U.S.'s blatant use of bioweapons during its Korean War genocide. Genocide, chemical, and biological weapons are as American as lethal apple pie. No surprise, America's mass murdering is race and class-based, with 99% of the victims being dark-skinned and or poor. In the West's worldwide Wehrmacht colonial manual, racism is classified as an extreme sport. If Eurangloland can't wipe out its perceived enemies with toxic nerve gas and Slavic anthrax, there is always the nuclear holocaust option, which is a real hot button, like the pun, hot button issue for the Elite's Extreme Psychopathic set, which includes all of them. Remember, in the West, a tin hut. Every option is available on the table 24/7, full spectrum dominance. Roger that, Buzz Life Kill. Not taking any chances, former deep state puppet Barack Obama was ordered by our owners to print $1,200,000,000,000 to, quote, upgrade, end of quote, Empire's nuclear bombs and missiles. Just think of the trillions of dollars that will be brazenly stolen as America's military contractors literally haul off the loot to island tax havens around the world on pallets. Transportation provided by military planes, of course, to share with all their cronies in Washington. Hey, stand tall and be proud, Westerners. It's what makes your plutocratic, quote, democracy, end of quote, and capitalism so great. For the handful of thieves running their vampire Ponzi scheme on your behalf, not. No wonder the Chinese, Russians, Iranians and company are not exactly mesmerized by the West's shining capitalist beacon on the Hill Exceptionalism, propaganda poppycock. Poppycock. That hocus pocus drug quit working a long time ago. In any case, they're too busy building a better, fairer, and more just 21st century for all of us. Wow, what a novel idea. Who would have thought? To celebrate the Anti-West and its commitment to working hard for the future of humankind, let's get pumped up with some rockin', hand-clappin', gimme goosebumps, blue-eyed soul by the late, great Dusty Springfield, singing Gonna Build a Mountain. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland, and Shenzhen, signing out. Have a wonderful weekend.